to tell me how you came about the decision to leave it?
Well, I was going to terminate NAFTA.
Trump seemed poised to pounce on NAFTA, then stepped back from the brink.
The relationship is very special, and I said, I will hold on the termination. Let's see if we can make it a fair deal.
Being seen ready to talk and ready to walk.
If I'm unable to make a fair deal for the United States, I will terminate NAFTA.
It's classic Art of the Deal, a book he's clearly read. On softwood lumber, energy, and dairy, Trump for days painted Canadians as artists of the raw deal.
In Canada, some very unfair things have happened.
What they've done to our dairy farm workers is a disgrace.
The Trudeau government has tried to walk a line between playing it cool and looking tough.
He is using Canada as an example. Your country's in the crosshairs.
It's not an accident that hockey is our national sport. And when it comes to defending Canada's economic interests, we're going to play hard.
But the numbers suggest Canada needs to be careful and that we'll pay a higher price than the U.S. for losing NAFTA.
In aggregate terms, it does matter more to us. It's 77% of our exports, and we account for 18% of American exports.
As a Canadian diplomat in the 90s, Colin Robertson was part of the team that negotiated NAFTA. While NAFTA's broader economic benefits are still hotly debated, its effect on growing trade is clear.
Whereas our trade with the rest of the world has almost doubled, our trade within the NAFTA group has more than tripled, almost quadrupled. It has been very successful in terms of trade. And whether the Americans recognize it or not, it has also been successful for them.
In fact, NAFTA has created an intricate spider web of cross-border supply chains. Ripping up the deal means tearing at that web, disrupting all three economies. And members of Trump's own party know it.
What are your specific concerns if Trump should withdraw from NAFTA?
The devastating impact on my state.
Such as?
The devastating impact on my state.
If the U.S. pulls out, the harm here to particular interest groups, particular sectors, is so great that I don't know that it's a realistic threat.
U.S. trade policy analysts like Simon Lester see politicians follow a script with trade deals.
To get a better deal.
Bash them in campaigns, build them while in power. In 2008, Barack Obama sounded a lot like Trump.
I will make sure that we renegotiate. I think we should use the hammer of a potential opt-out as leverage.
So, he criticized it when he was campaigning. When he became president, he sort of reworked it into the TPP. He creatively kept it. He had an argument that he had renegotiated it by updating it through the TPP.
One of Trump's first acts in office was to spike Obama's Trans-Pacific Partnership. But the complex renegotiation of NAFTA will need a starting point.
Now, what is Trump going to do with it? He may do exactly the same thing. He said it's a disaster, but if he just renegotiates it, he's being Obama, essentially. Now, he's doing it with much different rhetoric and a much different personality, but we really may see that this isn't that much different from what's come before.
Old wine, new label. This is how government works.
That may not be good enough for Trump supporters. Wage growth has been stagnant. Inequality has increased. And some sectors have been hit hard. The rage that got Trump elected is real.
There is a threat here of unraveling some important aspects of the world trading system. There's been enough talk, suggestions of withdrawing from NAFTA, that you imagine that maybe it would actually happen. I mean, I think the chances are low, but it's been put out there. And, we've seen across the Atlantic Ocean, the UK did decide to withdraw from the EU.
For decades, left-wing activism attacked free trade.
Corporatist, globalist media that are adamantly opposed to an economic nationalist agenda like Donald Trump has.
But it's anti-trade ideas from right-wing nationalists that are winning votes. And for some, there's a lesson to be learned.
We did not provide adequate support for the losers of trade. We always like to say trade raises all boats. Unfortunately, it's not true. There are those who lose their jobs. And so the trick there is to ensure that they get support as they either improve their job skills or decide to go in something different.
Robertson suggests managing the backlash by building that support right into future trade deals.
And the funding for that may well come from the winners. In other words, if you're engaged in trade back and forth, you may pay a little tiny premium on top to provide for those who are left out as a kind of safety net. I think that is what we're going to have to do, or we risk losing everything.
Only if we ensure that trade is inclusive so that everyone benefits.
It's something Trudeau has hinted at. But Trump's trade agenda remains mysterious. And for now, free trade advocates are waiting out the storm.